Today we're going to talk about bowls. There's something about having your meal in a bowl that makes it comforting and heartwarming. So we're going to start with a salad. It's a cold, rainy day. I'm home alone, and one of the things I like, especially in the new year when we all have our little New Year's resolutions, is to eat healthier. Well, this is a salad that's healthy and going to be absolutely delicious. So I started with some beautiful fresh romaine, and romaine and spinach, I like to soak them in a bowl to make sure you get all the grit and everything off of them, because we hear stories about food poisoning from romaine lettuce and from spinach very often. So the first thing I did was soak this in a bowl and then strain it. And then we got some deli fresh turkey, and I've got some shaved Parmesan. My favorite, the Cosmic Crisp apple, some pecans, and that's the base of our salad. So the first thing we're going to do is make our dressing. So the base of our dressing, I've got apple cider vinegar, and I've got this beautiful red apple balsamic, and I'm going to blend these two as the base of my vinaigrette. And I like to make the vinaigrette first because I like it to have time to just come together. So I'm going to use about 1/4 cup of each of these, and you can see that is thick and beautiful. My sister sent this to me from Florida. There's an olive oil and vinegar store down by her, and she sends me the most interesting flavors. So I got 1/4 cup of balsamic, and I'm going to do 1/4 cup of the apple cider. I am making a big batch of vinaigrette because this will stay fresh in your refrigerator for quite a while. And to that, I'm going to add a teaspoon of garlic. I chopped up a little, but it's going to get blended up in here. And I've got a tablespoon of finely chopped shallot, a teaspoon of fresh thyme, and a tablespoon of fresh parsley. Now I'm going to get that all going in there, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I've got that all blended together. The next thing I'm going to do is add a little bit of mustard. That will help emulsify this dressing, and I like to use whole grain, so I'm going to go fetch that from the fridge quick. So I've got some beautiful whole grain mustard. I keep all kinds of mustards in my refrigerator, though I have to confess I don't have any plain yellow. But I have honey mustard, Dijon mustard, and I love my whole grain. I like this because it'll add a little extra zing to our dressing. So we're going to get that going. Just a quick pulse. And then I'm going to add a little salt and pepper. I'm not going to add a lot of salt because I am going to be putting some Parmesan cheese in here as well, and that has plenty of salt in it. And I don't need a ton of pepper because I got some zing from that mustard. So I'll put that back in. Okay, I'm back. I've got some fresh grated Parmesan cheese from the grocery store. You can do this yourself as well if you've got something that can shave your parm. It'll give you a nicer look of your salad. But I just happen to have this already in the fridge, so I'm going to use this. I'm just going to throw a palmful in. It's not a Parmesan dressing, it's just going to give it a little extra And then we're going to save some of that putting on top too. We're going to give that a pulse. Okay, and then I'm going to start streaming in olive oil. When I do vinaigrette, I typically do 2 parts olive oil, 1 part vinegar. So that would be about 1 cup of olive oil, but I really do it by looking. I've drizzled in about 1/2 cup so far of the olive oil, and I'm going to give this just a little taste. Very good, but it does need a little more olive oil. And you will notice I stream it in. It's going to mix in much better if you stream it than if you just dump the whole thing in. So a little bit more. And if you don't like the super tart of the red wine vinegar, you could go all balsamic, or you can add a little honey to this. I like my dressing a little on the tart side because it's going to complement the other richer flavors that are going to be going into this. All right, I'm going to set this in the fridge to sit for a bit, and we'll be right back. The next thing I'm going to do is prepare the pecans for the salad, and I'm going to toast these a little bit in my nonstick frying pan, and then I'm going to add a little butter and a little brown sugar. I've got about 1.5 tablespoons of each, and saute those for a little bit, and then sprinkle them with either kosher salt or sea salt. And then I just let those cool and kind of dry a little bit before they go on my salad. That's why I like to do this step ahead of time. So let's go over to the stove. I'm going to turn this pan on to medium heat. I'm going to let it heat up for just a moment, and then we'll get going. We're going to add 1 cup of raw pecans. They are not salted or anything. Just going to let those warm up for a minute. Just to get them a little warm, and then we're going to add our butter, about 1.5 tablespoons. We're going to get that melted. And you can change up what kind of nuts if you don't like pecans. It's good with walnuts. You could use hazelnuts or almonds. And then we're going to add our brown sugar. We'll melt that all together, get the nuts all coated, get that sugar dissolved. And you want to cook these for a minute or two, but you've got to keep an eye on them. Nuts can burn very quickly, and when they smell good, you know they're done. And a few seconds later, they'll smell bad, and you know it's time to start over. So let's get that all incorporated. Gonna add a bit of my kosher salt. So these nuts will be sweet and salty and crunchy and buttery. A great topping for your salad. And I usually make these in much larger batches because we actually just like to snack on them, whatever's left over. So I might have a little chef's snack today, but not too much. And I'm starting to smell them, so I'm going to go ahead and turn these off and put them onto a paper plate to cool. So I'm going to let these cool on a paper plate, and the reason I like to do it on a paper plate is if there's any excess butter, it will soak into the paper plate and you won't be left with a buttery topping to go on top of your salad. And the next thing we're going to do is make our salad. I've got a beautiful Cosmic Crisp apple here. If you've watched any of my episodes prior, you probably know this is now my absolute favorite apple, and my husband's too. It's crispy, sweet, juicy. It stands up to baking, but it's a great eating apple, and it's really the only apple I'll buy pretty much, unless I've got a very specific recipe going. So I'm going to slice this into about 1/4 inch or so, thin slices. You don't want it too thick. And I'm going to probably use half this apple. So we'll go ahead and finish that. Time to assemble. So I said at the beginning, we're going with a bowl. So I tried to pick a platter that's kind of like a bowl. I just like the look of something longer for this particular salad. And I'm just going to tear the romaine into pieces. If I have large pieces, you notice I'm taking out the rib. It's just a little tougher than the rest of the lettuce and it's not as sweet and tasty, so I tend to tear that out. So I'm going to go ahead and prep up a bunch of this lettuce and we'll be right back. Just about done. I like to call this my winter salad because it's taking the flavors of a Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year's dinner and putting them all together in a salad, so you got that warm, comforting flavor that you get from those holiday dinners without the heaviness. And like I said earlier, you know, January, we all got those resolutions to lose weight, do more exercise, eat better. And at the very least, gonna eat better. So I've got some beautiful romaine, and then I've got some deli turkey. I had the butcher slice it a little bit thicker than I normally would because it is a salad. I don't want shredded turkey on here. So I just got a couple slices, and I'm just gonna slice it into strips. And we're gonna put those onto the salad. There's no rhyme or reason. You can decorate this, assemble this however you like. Like I said, I just like the length of the platter. And you could make this without the turkey if you wanted, and it is really good without the turkey. First time I made it, there was no turkey in it, but I really like the combination. Okay, next we're going to arrange our apples. And again, it can be whatever you think looks pretty. I don't want to totally cover this turkey up because I want people looking at the salad to know what's in it. So maybe I'll kind of fan them like that. And that half of apple should be just about right to cover the whole thing. Okay. Then I've got some cranberries. So we've got our turkey, we've got our apple pie, we've got our cranberry sauce. If you wanted to make it a little more like that Thanksgiving dinner, you could toast up some croutons and that would be your stuffing. I don't think the potatoes would quite go with this. All right, some beautiful cranberries. They're sweet, they have beautiful color, a little chewy. That's one thing when you're making food, especially something like a salad. Vary your colors, so you notice I have the green and the sort of white of the apple, and then the red cranberries, the brown nuts, but also crispy, chewy, salty. So we're going to sprinkle some of those on top. Yeah, I think there will definitely be a few left for the chef. And then if you were going to shave your own Parmesan, this is where you would do it. But like I said, I have this in the fridge, so I'm just going to sprinkle on some beautiful shaved Parmesan. Now if this were for my husband, I'd have to put the package next to his plate so he could sprinkle on a ton more, but I think that's enough for me. And I think that is one beautiful looking salad. It actually didn't take any cooking. It was all things from the refrigerator. Here's our dressing, which I would just spoon over my portion, or you could dress the salad if you want, but people like more or less dressing, so I tend to just serve it like this and let them put their own dressing on. So we have our beautiful winter salad with turkey, sweet and salty pecans, cranberry, Parmesan cheese, and apple. And I hope you give this a try and have a great new year. Stick to those resolutions. See you next time.